and welcome to Big Daddy Linux Live. Although I feel like I'm looking a little bit extra green today. I'd like to welcome my the panel here. I gotta fix that. Anyway, I'd like to welcome panel. It's something I think something I did wrong here on the window capture, but I will fix that while we're playing. So I just want to welcome everyone to BDLL. It's back. We're set here to have a talk about tech around the virtual water cooler. Anything that is Linux, tech, open source related is on the table for discussion. We do have some things in the docket, but first I want to thank Rocco for starting the Big Daddy Linux community, where I truly felt like a member of the nicest group of encouraging and uplifting people of phenomenal skills and abilities at a whole range of levels. And so I just want to welcome everybody here that is here to the group. So thank you very much. See, Eric is back. Got Eris is here. And Vince is here. Who else do we have here? So I just had to mess this up here. We got Drager OS, Vash, Tony, Robin Justice, Dave Jones. Is that Dave Jones?
Love it.
Did I mess that up? And we got Joe.
He should have like a superhero outfit.
He should, yeah, he should. Got
say Robin Justice League.
Joe Wayman, Chris is here. So thank you all for joining. And if someone else wants to join and they're concerned that they're joining late, that is absolutely okay, because I started late. So there we go. Welcome. And I fixed it, Dominic. The colors should be fine now.
Just
So
hasn't caught up. There it is. Yep.
Yep, got it fixed. See, I knew I'd get it eventually.
You got it.
So, well, welcome. So let's kind of start on the table. Let's start going around the horn here. So, what have you been doing in the Linux and open source world?
Shall we go in order?
Just let's just kind of like if we were hanging out, getting a glass of water at the the cooler thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it.
Water cooler.
Yeah, at the water cooler. That's how I'd like to play.
Got it.
Yeah. So what's been going on, Eric? I haven't seen you in a year, virtually or otherwise.
Feels like it. Hasn't quite been a year, but it certainly feels that long. Not much. I was sick. I was out in the hospital for quite a while, and now I've been back home for a while and just trying to finish healing up. I'm unfortunately kind of, might as well just explain it a little bit. I had a lung infection, and not from COVID, but from something else, and just really nasty, and had to be on a ventilator and all kinds of crazy stuff. So very much like as if I had COVID, but not COVID. So that's fun. But anyway, so because I was bedridden for so long, I had to do physical therapy and all that fun stuff, and it's a lot of work. But I'm here with my family, and that was really the worst part of being away in the hospital, was just being by yourself. And so now that I'm home, I'm feeling much better spirits. Haven't done much with computers and technology, really. I've been doing some work on websites and things like that, but I got back and had Manjaro on my system, on my laptop. I hadn't used it in close to 4 months, and when I went to run the updates, I had some issues. And at the time, it came through, and I had some problems, and I just didn't really have the energy to deal with it. I know I could have easily fixed it. I'm sure I could have, cherooted in and just fixed whatever the problem was. But I really didn't have the energy or the interest in doing it. And so I installed Ubuntu and just haven't looked back, and I've been using that ever since. But interestingly now, I've been feeling better. So now it's like all of a sudden, oh, what else is out there? So I've been looking around at different, releases and what's happening, Fedora 34, and seeing some of the things they're doing with the new GNOME and Pipewire, and Vash has been working on that, and that's interesting. And there's lots of stuff happening that I'm starting to dip my toe back in the water, but haven't quite done anything interesting myself yet, other than to just sort of get back and acclimated. So I did kind of go through this. I was thinking, like, do I want to go back and deal? And this is the wrong way to say this, but do I want to go back and deal with like Linux and setting up my system and going through all this again, or is this a good time for me to maybe use a commercial operating system, because it might just be easier for me, because I don't have a lot of energy to deal with other things. So I was playing around with like Susumi so that I could play with Mac. And honestly, every time I try Mac or I try Windows or I try anything else, I always come back to Linux, and it's home. So what I've learned from that is that I may not know the direction I'm headed quite yet, because I'm sort of getting back on my feet, but I still feel like Linux is my home, and I'm just so happy to see that everybody's still here and doing what they do. And hopefully I'm back now and can participate and hang out with all you guys. So there you go. I'll shut up.
Excellent. No, I think that's funny. Like, I haven't strayed off into Mac, but I did have a little bit of time using Windows again. And so I can relate as far as like, sometimes you just don't want to mess with the computer. Like, you just want to sit down and do some work or whatever. You don't have to like be drugged down by the computer or whatever. And I found that I was drugged down a lot harder and more violently by Windows than I ever was with Linux. So I'm like, well, here's where I stay. So, well, thanks for Eric for showing up, and thanks for sharing. I really do appreciate it.
But you don't feel like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it's a defeat though, right? It's not like you say, oh, well, I guess there's just nothing better than Linux, so I guess, oh, well, this is the best we can do. Like, actually, I really love and appreciate the variety and all the different things. So, and I think really what it comes down to, like I had an issue with Manjaro just because I hadn't updated and whatever, and that's my fault. I'm sure if I'd have read the Arch News, I would have figured out what the problem was or whatever. But the bottom line is it's still such an empowering thing, and I'm forever grateful to, like, Endeavor OS had another release today, and I made sure I went to the forum and said thank you, because I'm very appreciative of people putting their work into, I only have so much free time, and I think of like all the things I could be doing, and I think here are people that put their time forward into something that I enjoyed using. So anyway,
it's awesome.
Can you tell I haven't talked for a while?
Well, we've missed it. I know I've missed it anyway. So anyone else wants to jump right in? We'll just have a chat. And I know Vince,
Eric. I'd be happy to hear Eric talk all day long. That's what I would be happy for.
Yeah, it's nice.
When are you going to start your own podcast, hey?
Yeah, well, we'll see. Maybe there'll be a Vince and Eric podcast one of these days.
I picked up a little bit on what you were saying about just having a preference, because I mean, on a daily basis, I do use Windows, and a couple of months ago, I got my daughter a MacBook as well, so I've been playing with that as too, with the M1 chip. That thing is insane. That thing is so fast. You'd think, that was one of the things that I was worried about initially getting it being an ARM-based processor. Is it going to suffer from performance issues like a lot of other stuff? Like it was pretty much assumed that it was going to be good on battery and power usage. But it's turned out it's got both of those in spades, performance and power efficiency. So I think that's fantastic. I've been lately thinking about some of the, lesser known projects or stuff that just goes on in the background that sort of doesn't get recognized as much. And I've been sending out some tweets just about that, just being thankful about open source and some of the stuff that gets done, but you may not really see headlines for. Like, you don't see, headlines for things like Pulse Audio. I found that quite useful, and so I've sent out a tweet to those guys, just thanking those guys. There are a few other things as well. So that's kind of what I've been thinking about lately. The other thing I've been doing also is I've been thinking about getting my very first Raspberry Pi. So wish me luck on that. My main usage for it is probably going to be to put in a Pi hole maybe for the family. It's really just maybe to get rid of the ads on my phone. I find that can be quite annoying sometimes. And also a VPN server so that I can connect back to my home network securely.
Yep, and I'll tell you what, once you live with a Pi hole, it's really hard to go back, especially like you're saying for the apps, the advertising in the apps themselves, because you don't realize it. You know, I'll use my phone or my tablet, and because I have the Pi hole, I don't get any of the ads, and then I'll be out of the house on, you know, like a 4G signal and be getting all these ads and like, oh, you know, you forget. But yeah, Pi hole, it's one of those things like once you have that set up, you really just can't go back, you know.
My only issue is if I end up accidentally blocking Facebook at home, I'm going to be in a lot of strife from the missus.
Well, and I had that same issue. So fortunately, you can see the query log and see all the things that get blocked. If you use the default lists, it can be a little aggressive. And like my wife, what was it? There was something she was trying to do shopping. So some of those coupons and things, I guess, that she was getting in her email, she would click through and it wouldn't let her go through because it was being blocked because it saw it as, you know, spam or something. So I had to whitelist a whole bunch of stuff to make her happy. So what I ended up doing was actually just creating two profiles, where one is really locked down, and that's the one I use because I don't mind. And then I have one for my wife and daughter, which is much more permissive, but still does a good job of blocking a lot of the stuff.
Well, cool. I hope
But it is like, how could it possibly do that much, you know? But anyway, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I got some pies recently, real cheap. I got them at a really inexpensively. So I bought a few of them. So I got 4 Pi 3s and 3 Pi 0Ws. I think they are Pi 0Ws. So I have these things kind of rattling around my noggin as to what I'm going to do with them. But you know, I don't want to say them and then disappoint because I don't actually follow through on it. So I'm going to hold off on saying too much. But anyway,
How do you get them cheaper than they already are, Nate?
eBay.
Ah.
So yeah, I just there's I'm setting up one right now to do like a WordPress server. So I just basically plug it into a network and have like a WordPress web page just for an intranet that I can just kind of set up and make it portable wherever I go. So that's my first little thing I'm going to do right now. But less about me, more about somebody else. So Vash, you haven't said anything yet. What have you got to lay on us?
Linux-wise, I have not been doing a whole lot. I've been looking a little bit more at data analysis, so most of my extra time has been taken up by that.
Okay. What I guess anything in particular that's exciting you?
I'm just looking at potentially doing some kind of data sets with maps and getting those plotted on, so I can kind of play around with and see if I can get something going with that.
Well, very cool. Have you been doing any gaming as of late?
Mostly been playing Outriders, actually. Adam's familiar with.
I'm sorry. Say Adam's what?
Adam is familiar with that one. He knows it.
I don't know if I heard him.
He said that I'm familiar with it.
Oh, yeah. You're familiar with a lot of things.
And he's correct. Yeah.
And I see Tony's here. I haven't talked to Tony since October, I think. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, it was October last when BDLL was on. not an awful lot's happened. I've tried to stop distro hopping, and I've sort of ended up hovering between two distros. I'm using either 2104 Kubuntu in beta,
Okay.
or I'm using GNOME desktop on Fedora, which is also in beta, and I'm on each one for about a week, and then I switch, and I just can't decide which one to stick on. But it's a lot better than it was.
Are there any standout features that you'd like to share with the class?
Well, the KDE desktop with 5.21 has got better. Discover now seems to work quite well. With GNOME 40, the thing that I like about that is that you don't need to use any add-ons with it. You can just use it as it comes stock. It works well. Everything seems to be okay. And therefore, any future versions of GNOME will also be all right, because you won't have to wait for the add-ons to get updated to work with it. But I just can't decide which one to go with. But at least it's a choice of two now, instead of a choice of how many hundreds that there are.
I think like 368, I believe.
Is that what it is?
I don't know. I'm just throwing a number out there.
I'm going to
Yep.
say it seems
Pulling
like thousands rather than hundreds, really. But, you know, I'll get there eventually. I'm a lot closer now than I was a year ago.
You know, it's fun to play. So I think that's one thing about Linux is you can always there's a play factor in it, and for me, not for my primary machine, but for like other ancillary machines, there's a lot of opportunity for fun things that you can do, things you can play with, you know, and that's one of the things I really appreciate. And
Yeah, I always tend to use it on the main machine, though, because sometimes an ancillary machine, it might not work properly. So I tend to hop all the time on the main machine, and that's the problem. It was bugging me too much to keep on doing it. So I've now got it down to the two, and I'm hoping eventually I'll stick to one of them.
well, and if you don't,
I'm just destined to be a distro hopper for life.
yeah.
That's it.
Well, some people have some good strategies for distro hopping. They separate out like their home, and then they just keep like reattaching it to whatever new distribution that they try.
I
and,
like to do it the hard way. If
Oh,
you're going
okay.
to do it, you've got to suffer.
Okay, well, you know, that's you know, there are numerous strategies, and you got to choose one that works best for you. I would say. So, in Robin, I haven't seen Robin in seemingly forever. Also, at least not on like a Biddle type setting. I've seen your name pop by in a chat a couple weeks ago. I've missed your input.
Thanks. That's so good to hear. It's so good to be back with the gang tonight. So lovely to see you all. Yeah, it has been a long time. It just feels like ages now. It seems like October was like, I don't know, years ago. But yeah, it's been so
Yeah.
great to see everyone popping up every so often again, which is fantastic. And Linux is starting to take a lot of control at the moment, which is great at the moment. There's lots of betas and releases being thrown at me over the last few weeks or so, which is great. I've been quite happy to get my hands on GNOME 40 and play around with that. And there's a lot I think still I've got to learn about the gesture side of things, because obviously if you put, I will say one thing though, the one thing that really annoys me most at the moment with GNOME 40 is the dock. And although I like the new design, the new layout of the launchpad, etc., to me, GNOME 40 is not very user-friendly on a desktop for me at the moment. But that's probably because I've just got to get used to a new workflow for that one. But fantastic on a laptop. I've tried out GNOME 40 on Endeavour, Arch, and I'm just going to tomorrow try it out on openSUSE with the new release of Tumbleweed today. So we want to see if there's any
Good
real
choice.
differences to the tweaks there. And yeah, so I've also played around obviously with Fedora 34, which was my first touch of GNOME 40, and I hear it's due for release on Tuesday this week. So that'll be good to see what comes of that. And I've been invited along to the release party, which I've signed up for. So you might see me online for that this week when I join the party,
Cool.
which is fantastic. So be good to see what others are saying about it. Besides that, I've been trying to think about different ways about streaming as well on my main production laptop and PC here, because I've been getting quite a few issues at the moment with NVIDIA, and a lot of it probably is to do with the age of my hardware or some distros just not supporting it. I find that when I boot up Ubuntu, everything just works straight out of the box. I don't know why. It just works. And then if I try to use OBS in Magia, for example, which is what I've been trialing out this week, and trying to hold on to it for a month. I promised myself I will use that distro for an entire month. So far, okay for kind of daily use, but not for my streaming and podcast use. So I think I might need to throw that one in the bag. But glad to see that the Ubuntu's are being released this week as well. I've got my hands on Ubuntu today. I had to play around with that, and it's running, I think, a lot faster for me in XFC 4.16. And yes, apart from that, Manjaro as well, I've touched. I don't know, I'm starting to kind of fall out of love with Manjaro a bit, but was quite sort of shocked and pleased really to hear that they are moving away from using Arch as their main source. They're
Really?
going to be moving across to FreeBSD, so I hear. So I don't know if the others in the group have heard about this, but look out for future releases of Manjaro coming with BSD, because Arch will be no more for Manjaro.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So besides that, I've also got since October, I got myself the Raspberry Pi 400 as a birthday present to myself, and I put Manjaro's XFC build on it. It works a treat, brilliant, love it. And I've put Ubuntu on it, and it was a bit sluggish for me, but it worked. But next try will be openSUSE's release today. So I'll be getting that out of the drawer tomorrow to have another play with.
Now, I do have to admit I'm a bit biased because I'm a big openSUSE nut, but I do kind of wonder like why they're using like why would they go to BSD as a base as opposed to like seems like Tumbleweed might be closer to might be more. So I don't know. It seems like that would be
you might want
easier.
to check the data on that announcement.
Yeah, check it on that announcement because I don't know if that's quite legit.
It was last week, I think, in one of their tweets from Phil when he announced it. But it's one of their news releases. They did say they were pulling back from using Arch as their base.
Well, if somebody wants to look that up and share that article, that'd be great for everyone to read. Does anybody else want to hop in? Dave or Chris, Joe?
I'll hop in.
Eris? Okay, hop right in. Let's have a chat.
So, yeah, glad to be back. This is great. I feel like with my Linux journey since Biddle was last on, I've been kind of following Tony and Robin's footsteps. I've been trying to tone down on the distro hopping. Got pretty much down to 2, which is either Pop! OS or Fedora. And but like Robin, I'm really enjoying Fedora GNOME 40 on Fedora 34 beta, but I really only like it on a laptop or on a computer with a single monitor right now. Whereas at work, I'm running Pop! OS 20.10, and I have dual monitors, and Pop Shell just works great. I love it with multiple monitors. So I'm kind of interested to see what Fedora will be doing with their multi-monitor support. I actually earlier this year I bought a new laptop with Linux on it. I ordered a laptop from System 76, the Serval workstation. So that's been, I've been really enjoying that. And actually, I'm getting ready to, I think, try out Pop OS's Cosmic that I heard about earlier this week. Their new implementation of GNOME.
Yeah, actually, I don't know anything about that. I haven't seen that. But I mean, really, I'm a big fan of Fedora. I don't use it on the regular. I haven't tried Pop in a while, but if you find something that it works for you, that's great.
Yeah, Pop. The Cosmic. It looks a lot like GNOME 40, but they've done it through extensions, so it looks really interesting, and it has a nice merge of like a blending of GNOME 40 with the ability of still using the tiling aspects of PopShell. So I'm excited to take a look at that. But that's actually not going to be officially released until June, they said.
Okay.
But it's on their GitHub, and you can actually download they have instructions on how you can download and try it right now.
That's cool. Well, thank you for sharing. Chris, I don't know if you had anything you want to throw in there. Maybe? I think you're muted. Or Joe. I know, Joe, you're not
Yes.
You're not a Linux user. You could be.
Right.
You should be. But you can do whatever you want.
Right. Which is typically what I do. So I have to use Windows 10 for my job. I hate Windows 10. And I actually just bought a laptop like last Monday, had to replace it. It's got Windows 10, and like I said, I hate Windows 10. But a friend told me about something called Classic Shell, which basically you make the start menu more traditional, like 95.7, stuff like that. So I like that aspect of it, but I haven't used Linux in a very long time. How long has it been since the U-turn was open, Nathan? That's probably the last time I ever.
That would probably be in the I think that closed
2010,
2009, 2010. So that's probably the last time you used Linux.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
All the new fun emulator stuff runs on Linux now. I don't know if you get any of these. I'm sure your Nintendo, like your little coaster sized Nintendo thing that you have. I'm pretty sure that runs on Linux. So in a way, you are using Linux for your games.
Yeah.
In a way.
Is that why it runs so well?
It's not crashy.
Right. And I can add and hide as many games as I want. So if there's a couple games on there that I don't care for, which is the case, I'm like, we're not going to display those. I'll add some other ones instead.
There you go. Good times.
Yeah.
Well, I do appreciate you hanging out, Joe. It's nice.
Yeah. Hey, good times, great oldies.
That's right. So keep with those videos that you do with the your Joe played this. I do enjoy those quite a bit. So
thank you. I
make my kids watch it whether they like it or not.
That's funny. I haven't done one since think around last Christmas when I did Duck Hunt.
Oh, okay. That was a fun one.
And yeah, and I need to do some other ones, but it's been difficult finding the motivation. I was going to do one this what was it? This next one I was going to do sorry. Anyway, I was going to do the one on Donkey Kong Country, but I'm like, that's more of a task than I'm going to take on. So
totally an aside.
I'm going to do something a little easier.
But there is a really good Donkey Kong arcade implementation. Like it was done in 2016 for the Commodore 64. Mm-hmm. I downloaded it. It's really good. It's really good. And I'll have to show that to you sometime. But
yeah. Did you ever play the someone ported, I think I sent you a video of it. Someone played
Mario, Super Mario World.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've tried to get that, but all the downloads have been axed. I think Nintendo probably had their way with the Commodore 64 port of Super Mario World, or Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers. But it's what happens. Nintendo, it's what they do.
Right. Iron Fist.
That's right. Eris, it's nice to see your A there with the circle.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can change that.
Can
Yeah.
I? I tried the Arch installer recently.
The new one.
Yeah, I used it in VirtualBox,
Okay.
and it seemed pretty simple because I have installed it the normal way, like the usual way,
Okay.
and everything seemed simple. But then after I restarted VirtualBox, it didn't work. Turns out that it only works for UEFI.
Yes,
So-
it does. Yeah. And did you select the Mesa driver as well?
No. I haven't tried it again, but it seems simple. But I would have to switch over OpenBox to UEFI, I guess, if I wanted to make it work.
Yeah, I haven't actually had that as an issue on anything I've installed, but I use Vert Manager when I play around with stuff. I don't know if that does.
Yeah, that's KVM.
Yeah. I don't know if that works any better, any different. I have no idea. I use it because it tends to always work with Tumbleweed because sometimes VirtualBox breaks. So.
Vert Manager is the bomb. I love it because it's the easiest thing to use on Drugger OS because VirtualBox hates Drugger OS's guts when it's the host.
Well, there you go.
It's something to do with the LickWorks kernel, not the LickWorks kernel, the Xanmod kernel. So I just use Vert Manager because then you don't need a DKMS module. Call it a day.
Right. Makes sense. Well, cool.
Also, way more powerful.
It's faster too. I noticed the emulation seems just about like bare metal as far as at least my experience has been that. So I don't know. I could be wrong. I'll admit. Adam, have you been playing any Stadia lately? I know that's kind of your thing. At least it has been. I haven't seen any streams from you, but maybe.
I've been so busy with work, man. It's been kind of nuts, to be honest. I haven't really done much gaming at all in like 2 weeks. It kind of sucks. Like I think I've probably played maybe 2 hours in the last 2 weeks.
What hope is there for
Them's
me,
the breaks.
Adam, if that's the way. Yeah.
None. Give up now.
That's what happens.
Hey, good to see you, Mr. Grubbs. Well,
My only regret is I didn't give up sooner.
Oh, come now.
No, it's just I mean, I've just been busy with work and family stuff.
Yeah.
My mom's been having a lot of health issues, so I'm kind of working through that as well. And I don't know, just life stuff, I guess. Haven't had much time for fun, tinkery, geeky stuff. But now I'm here with you guys, so it's all good.
But see, there's now you get your fix in, right? Now you might be inspired to do something, maybe.
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 Give up, I guess.
Give up, yeah. So my kids are on a Minecraft kick again. This kind of comes and goes. I don't know how gaming is for everybody else. I just kind of play whatever my kids are into at the time. And so right now it's Minecraft, and I think it was Schickel who introduced me to this Bedrock installer Flatpak thing for Linux, so I can play they like the tablet version for whatever reason because I don't think it's as good, but so we played that a little bit today, and I just don't enjoy the survival mode. I just want to build things and blow stuff up. That's all I really want to do. Outside of that, I don't really enjoy Minecraft. I guess you can do neat things with it. Yeah, I mean, I should like it.
I've just, I've never tried it, and I look at it and I think, yeah, there's got to be, obviously there's something to it because it wouldn't be as popular as it is otherwise. But I think it's because it's so many different things, right? It's not just this one sort of approach to it. There are people that have taken it and done so many different things with it, right? It's the sandbox aspect of it, I think, that makes it so I mean, it's like 10 years old now, right? I mean, it's been around for a long time.
Yeah, it's been quite a long time. So it must have some kind of stay power. I mean, there must be
Yeah, well,
something to it.
Dave has an opinion, I think.
Oh
No?
no, I was playing with my microphone. So.
Oh no, I thought you put your finger up because you had.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that after.
Vash
I
had
was
said.
like, oh, it looks like...
Yeah, Vash had said something about I guess there's an open source version of something like that I guess he was going to try.
No, I think it's. I'm trying to remember the name. I'd send it your way. Yeah, there is an open source vodule based game. A couple of them out there actually, and one of them is trying to be kind of a Minecraft thing. But I'll see if I can find it really quick.
Yeah, it just looked like it was like an open source clone, I guess. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
I do recall that. I can't remember what it's called though.
Mindtest,
That's
the
it.
open source clone.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, Mindtest is what it is. It's actually really popular in the Linux community, especially if you don't have the money to buy Minecraft. I actually have a server running Mindtest, so you can join that if you want. There are some differences. If you've played Minecraft before, Mindtest may throw you for a loop for a minute, but you'll pick it up pretty quickly. The biggest difference is you can actually beat Minecraft. There is no such thing in Mindtest. So,
How does one actually beat Minecraft?
so
You blow everything up.
With a stick?
I wish. There's something like a quest line in Minecraft. I'm not sure how you get started on it, but you end up going to this other world and fighting some dragon, and if you kill the dragon, you win. It's weird. That's about the most info I have, because what little I've played Minecraft, I have never gone that far in it because I just prefer Mindtest.
That's fair.
See, my nephews are
Fair.
into it, and the only thing I've ever been good at with that game is blowing up the big Minecraft sign in the sky. So that's my extent of Minecraft experience. I have actually, I've done like some sort of battle mode with them, and they asked me to play. I'm like, I don't get it, sorry. And what are they going? And so I've actually seen them like fight this dragon that you're talking about.
I
Yeah,
read
that's
about the
what
dragon.
Farron was saying. Something once you beat the Ender Dragon. So here's the problem
Yeah.
with Farron. I could never tell if he's being serious or not, and that's his own
No,
fault.
he's serious.
It's
That's
his own
actually true.
fault.
Yeah. For once, he's actually telling the truth. No.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so you have to. There's like a series of things you have to collect. Because the game is mostly about like harvesting materials and building things or whatever, and so you have to basically collect certain materials to build certain things in an order that allows you to go to another sort of dimension, realm, if you want to call it, and then there you have to get certain things from that to build even more stuff to eventually get to another realm. Then that's where you fight that Ender Dragon, and that's technically how you win at Minecraft. But you can get sidetracked and do everything else instead.
This is first I've heard of such a thing. So if you go into creative mode, can you still fight the Ender Dragon or whatever, or do you have to go through a creative?
Yeah,
or
it still exists. Still exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just have to find the dragon then.
But that's cheating. So.
Yeah, no, that's not cheating. That's how you have fun, I think.
That's how you learn to beat it, and then you do it the right way.
As a previous owner of a Game Genie, that stuff gets old fast.
That's fair.
Actually, I don't know if you heard, but Nintendo tried to sue Galoob. They did the Game Genie, and Nintendo lost.
Yeah.
I heard that somewhere.
I thought I might have it handy, but I don't. The Game Genie. Maybe it'll fix it.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Actually,
I don't even think a Game Genie can do that.
That was a question I had in general. So I was looking at ways to kind of kill time, and I have lots of games on Steam, but I like the idea when I think back to classic video games in my childhood, my youth. they were all just little things you could sit down and play with, and just for a few minutes or for a few hours if you're really into it. But it wasn't so involved. And I feel like every game I play now, there's like, just even get into it to where you feel like you're playing it is just such a commitment. And so I've been looking at emulators. Well, not really looking at, but I've looked at, and there's so many of them that I don't really understand. Like, what do you like? I see that there's the emulation software itself, and then the ROMs, I guess, are separate. And so, does anyone have 5 minutes to explain that to me?
I like, as far as like emulators go, or why emulate. Like, I like emulators because I can save the game and continue it later. Like, I never actually beat Super Mario 3 until I did it on Linux in an emulator because I didn't have time to sit down. I'm sorry, Joe. But it just wasn't feasible for me to ever invest that amount of time at once. So emulators for me have made it a lot better.
Warp whistles, dude.
Warp whistles.
Yeah.
What console you're trying to emulate?
It doesn't matter. I'm really just interested in it as a discussion. I mean, when I was a kid, I had Sega Master System as my first gaming system. And then I went up to a Genesis. So I was always a Sega kid. Those are the games I know. But I had friends that had Atari and Commodore and all the rest of it. So it's not like I don't know what those systems are or haven't played those games. It's just I never owned them myself. So I've just sort of searched for emulators of different systems and then the ROMs themselves. And I don't know. It seems like there's a whole sort of process to it that maybe I'm not quite understanding. So
about the emulators and the ROMs, the emulators are reverse engineering the hardware, so that's all legal. But the ROMs, there's not really like a legal. It's like a gray area, if that. Okay. So that's why they're never on the same website usually.
So when you see like those, on eBay or something, you see those little game systems that are just little pieces of hardware. They're obviously just like some Chinese ripoff. And they have an emulator software and then a bunch of ROMs on them. Like, that's total copyright infringement.
I think for the most part,
not quite.
I think for the most part they are not paying the copyright holders, but some of them do. I'm not sure which ones. Some of them actually do pay royalties for that, but it's only some of them. It's not going to be all of them.
The more legit ones are going to pay royalties. Not all of them do. Typically, I just go download the ROMs for the games I already own because two reasons. One, I don't have the hardware I need to pull the ROM off the game cartridges that I owned or already own. And by doing that, it saves me a lot of work because somebody's already done it for me. And it gives me games that I've already played before. I may or may not have actually already beaten. So it still gives me that nostalgia feel. I grew up in the Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS era. So I learned very quickly. I prefer the emulator over the console because. So there's a game, absolutely love it, have not beat it to this day. Pokemon Fire Red, still have not beat it, and could go into that. But the reason I prefer that on a console is because there are things in Pokemon Fire Red that take forever, and with an emulator you can actually speed up how things are going, so you can get through those things much faster without having to do any sort of weird hacky stuff. It's already done for you. There are some other things you can do to help like performance. I know PlayStation 1 and 2 emulators, you can get BIOS files for them and toss it in the emulator and it will actually go faster because it doesn't have to like use the reverse BIOS. You get the real BIOS. And there's some other stuff here and there. I haven't tinkered with any of the emulators for the stuff that's as old as what you're trying to do, but I imagine since they're so much older, they should run just fine and have all those features I'm talking about.
So do any
Hey,
of the...
Eric.
Go ahead now.
Hit me up after the stream. I've sailed the high seas, so you don't have to. Just,
okay, I figured as
you know.
much. Okay, I figured as much. Okay. Are there any companies that do offer like their old games Like, because I know usually when there's a new platform that comes out, a new console, like they'll re-platform some of their games and stuff like that. But I mean, does Nintendo have like classic games that you can go get Mario Brothers and actually
They have
play
these
it?
little boxes that they
Yes
sell that
and
have them
no.
on there.
Yes and no. There's that, and then there's also some old games you can actually get on the Switch. Not all of them. That's going to be the big barrier to doing it the right way.
Okay.
That you're going to encounter is you're going to find the very popular stuff, and it's going to be either in the little mini consoles that they released,
Mhm.
and it's running on modern hardware in an open source emulator, or it'll be running in an emulator on a modern console like a Switch.
Okay.
So if you played a game that wasn't popular back in the day, you ain't gonna find it in any of those formats. You got to do it the bootleg way.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, because there's a couple games that and I wonder if it's a case of don't, meet your heroes. It's not the exact way to apply that, but I think back to some of these games as being so amazing, and I wonder if I play them now and they're just like, oh, I shouldn't have done that because it wasn't as good as I remember. So
It really
No,
depends.
I think the difference is you haven't been tainted by modern games, so you'll probably still enjoy them.
that's true. That's true.
I mean,
Yeah,
but it
I
really
think back to
depends.
like Ninja
Sure.
Gaiden, if anyone remembers that game.
That game's still good.
Ninja Gaiden's hard, dude.
Yeah, it was hard. It was really hard, which is why it was like an effort. Like when you actually beat a level, you were like, wow, But yeah, it thinks back to like those old Sega games, Road Rash and Ninja Gaiden, and God, what were they? I had so many of them, and they were just, those were games, right? Because I mean, pre-internet world, like that's what you had, So anyway,
I had Road Rash for the N64. That game is fun.
Yeah.
I wish I still had my N64, man.
Well, that's why I look at people like Nate who are smart enough to keep their stuff, and I think, why did I get rid of my console? Like, there was no reason to. I gave it to my cousins, so at least someone got to use it. But...
Whoa. I don't know if you want to put
Wait.
smart and Nate in the same sentence like that. Not without some sort of a rebuttal on that, like a
disclaimer.
The nice thing about some of these emulators is, so for like the Wii, for instance, I had an actual Wii console, and I was playing it in the middle of a storm one day, and it wasn't hooked into a proper surge protector, and you can imagine what happened from there.
Yeah.
No magic blue smoke, but it still got fried.
Yeah.
So I still have all the accessories and all the games, but no Wii console. But, so the little thing on the front of the Wii remote that looks like the little blaster thing that you find on a normal remote? Yeah, it's not a blaster, it's a camera. And if you set up a couple candles like a foot or so apart from each other, and you hook it up via Bluetooth to your computer, which is very, very easy, by the way, because that's how it hooked up to the original Wii, you can use it like a mouse, more or less. It's a little bit more complicated than that.
Did you say candles? Like,
yes, candles.
Okay.
Candles. Because the camera is an infrared camera.
You can actually buy bars that are just battery powered that you can use instead. I'm just saying, if you don't want to burn your house down, that's an option.
I mean, you can do the bars too, but I'm doing it the cheap bootleg way, because why not?
I mean, one of the things between emulators and actual hardware, I mean, sure, the emulator is great. You can play whatever you have, and you don't need to worry about the game not loading properly. But come on, it prevents you from ever having to do this.
Oh, but think of the memories of that. Did you shove the other cartridge on top of that one to push it down further? Because sometimes that would help. Oh goodness. Oh, that was so infuriating.
Now I use isopropyl alcohol. That seems to kind of make it work again. When all else fails.
Which is better than blowing on it, because now putting all the moisture on the contact.
Just spitting all over it.
Yeah,
but
probably
there's
not
something
helpful.
so nostalgic about it. Oh, it's not working? Let me take this out.
No, I know.
I thought about like contact cleaner might be good. Like there's some of those retro computer hardware enthusiasts. They have like I can't remember what it's called now, but they would spray something on the contacts to make it work. I can't.
I heard people use Windex.
Well,
I'm not sure how good it
there's
is for that thing
kiosks
though.
and stuff like that.
Well, what's the stuff that I always see, like 8-Bit Guy and some of the others where they have a switch where they'll spray, like one of those potentiometers where you can they'll always spray something in there to clean them because otherwise they crackle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the stuff. I know you're talking about it. I have to
Anyway.
watch something to figure that out.
Got it.
It'd be something like a deox, but
Yeah, that's it. Deoxit. That's it. Deoxit. You got it. I don't know if that'd be bad for a cartridge though. If that would eat contacts or eat anything. Probably not. I imagine.
I don't know.
I used to use erasers.
Yeah.
Just take a pencil, rub it over the contacts, and that would take all the oxidation off. So,
So the funny thing is though, back when we did that when these games were fairly new, so I don't think oxidation was the problem. Most of the time, what you were actually doing, all of the silly rituals you had when you took the cartridge out and they actually didn't really matter. It was all about just reseating the cartridge, right?
Oh,
You
come
just
on,
take it
Adam.
out and put
Nope.
it back in a couple times. You're good.
Sorry.
You don't have to, bless the sun and blow the cartridge. You can just take it out and put it back in, and it'll probably work.
And for anyone who has no idea what we're talking about, sorry, it's hard to explain.
Well, I mean, there was
I
something with,
remember
like,
back.
If you have to ask, you'll never know.
It caused, when you put the game in, it didn't always line up properly. There was some wear and tear after a while, so we kept, doing it even more often over the years.
Yeah.
There's a retrofit kit for the Nintendo. I thought about this, although my Nintendo's not bad enough yet. It's close, but you actually you just push it in, and it doesn't have the the mechanism, the up and down mechanism, and so you just push it in straight, and then it has a better contact. They're not, instead of the roller contacts, it's something else, and it's just something more traditional. And supposedly it's better, but I don't know if I want to spend the time to desolder and solder and something on something that basically still works. I don't want to, mess up
Well,
my thing.
I mean, back in my day, when
The punch card day.
the video game, well, it was pretty close to that. But when you had a console, it was this thing that had about 5-6 different switches on it. You could play tennis or hockey or squash, depending which position the switch was in. And all that did was change the number of bars on the screen that you could use to hit the ball back and forth with. So that was the bomb, man. Then
We
you
had those
played
little,
tennis.
I think they were Activision. I'm not sure what the brand was, but they were the little, there was a football one, there was a soccer one, and it was just a red display with little red dots on it. And so the football one.
There were handheld ones that were like
Yeah,
that,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And they were all 9
This
volt.
one was a console that you hooked up to your TV. This is about the same time that the TI-99 was the big thing.
Got it.
70s, late 70s.
Got it.
There was a I wish I could remember what it was called, but it was like a mechanical. It was almost like tennis. Whenever you push a button, it kind of mechanically went from one way to another. I think I saw something like on Tech Tangents. This it was called Blip, I think, but it had a red LED that would go back and forth, and it was on some different gears, and it'd be kind of like tennis basically, or like Breakout, except without the breaking out part, and you'd play against somebody else. It was kind of fun, or you could play solo, for those that didn't have friends, as a kid, and that's what they did in the room,
Right.
Oh,
Well,
and then
what
when
we-
the Atari 2600 came out, oh wow, that was
That really was. Hey,
advanced.
that was a huge. I mean, we went from Pong, or little, games that were very static, like you're saying, just changed the field. That's all you were really changing. Everything else was the same. To think of those original Atari games. That was amazing. Or even just the PCs back then. What was it? Scorched Earth. You remember, guys? You guys remember playing that Scorched Earth? It was a artillery game.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Oh, it was so much fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I look back at that now, and that was kind of my point about the video games, where you could just sit down and play that. There was no precursor, there was no learning anything. It was self-evident. Like you just sit down and play it. Versus games now, I feel like you have to learn 20 keyboard shortcuts and like. Granted, I don't play with. Yeah, I don't play with controllers, so I think that's probably a big part of it. If I played with controllers or consoles, it's probably much more, sit down and just play versus a PC. But I don't know.
So you talk about like not playing with controllers. I remember having such a hard time adjusting to analog sticks when they came along. Because I grew up with like D-pads on controllers, and then I think it was like Ape Escape was the first game I played that required an analog stick on the PlayStation, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, I can't coordinate my thumbs to make these motions, right? I'm like, why can't I just use the D-pad? They're like, no, the D-pad does other things. And I'm just like, man, this is rough. And it took until I played Halo on the original Xbox that like I finally started to get okay with it, and like. It wasn't until maybe like 2015 that I was actually considered proficient with a thumbstick.
See, I was the reverse. I played consoles all my life growing up. We were one of the first generations that I guess we played outside, but we also played a lot inside. It was kind of a transitional period in time in the early 80s. But we played Super Mario World, and my oldest brother loved that. We played, GoldenEye was still popular. I was still growing up around that time. 007 GoldenEye. So the others, we had the Super Nintendo and the NES, but it was difficult for me to try to play on the PC, to try to play a first-person shooter on the PC. Even though, like, some people prefer to play that way. Like when I played the Linux game. What was it? The old first-person shooter that's so popular. I can't think of it right now.
Xonotic?
Yeah, Xonotic, yeah. And it's a different animal when you're coming from a controller to a keyboard and mouse, or a keyboard and mouse to a controller. It does take a lot of time. It feels so unnatural. It just feels like you're a fish out of water.
Now, a little bit ago, Vash was saying something I think kind of got stepped on a little bit about. I think it was on emulators or consoles, or I don't know what it was.
What was?
I think Vash. I can't remember what you were. What was the subject?
I don't know at this point.
Oh, well, that's okay. It's all good. Well, not to shift gears too hard, but when we are playing or emulating, games on Linux, is anybody? Here's my segue. It's a very poor segue. Is anyone trying any of the new distributions out there that are popping out? Ubuntu 21.01 or Fedora 34, which is currently in beta. Is anybody or openSUSE 15.3, also in beta? If anyone's
not yet. I'm looking forward to the new Cosmic. I'm looking forward to the new Cosmic DE with Pop. Pop was actually tolerable GNOME for me, but I've not really ran Endeavor for any amount of time, or some of the newer ones.
Is Cosmic like the code name of it? I don't know. I haven't even looked. Is it?
No. That's perfectly fine. Not a lot of people do know about it because it's beta, and it's just Pop OS is putting out I guess it's like GNOME-like. Somebody was mentioning it earlier in chat or something that it was kind of real similar to GNOME, but I think it might be a better implementation of GNOME.
No, basically what it is
that don't like GNOME.
It's kind of like their own extension. It adds to enhance some views. It's not another desktop.
Oh, so it's not another D.
No, it's GNOME, but it's got their own like homemade extensions.
I wish they would do KDE or something.
Yeah.
Something, give me something other than GNOME.
So Steve, welcome to the stream. Appreciate you being here.
Sir.
It's great to have you. You're a big man like yourself with such a kind face. It's always nice to see it.
Thanks, buddy.
And I haven't tried Pop OS in years, but would you say is it a big change in the Pop OS usage, or is
no? You'll still have the. I was just kind of looking at it. I know you can like get I think a beta on it. Tyler Tech had done a video on it, but basically it's kind of like they've listened to a lot of um, stuff from the users on what they look like and look at, and they're just I guess created basically a lot of their own extensions to make it more, in their eyes, usable. Make it to where you have a choice. If you're keyboard driven, you can just leave it with GNOME. If you're mouse driven, you can do the new extensions in that.
So what do you like? Like, is there a standout feature that you'd say you gotta try Pop
I'm not,
OS?
because I'm not when I'm starting up my programs and that's why I really have now liked GNOME so much, because that's the workflow I ended up working into Peppermint, and I'm more keyboard driven. I don't use icons. I don't use docs. I just want to hit the super key and start typing it in, and there it is, and boom, hit enter, and I'm there. So, but those that have to use that mouse, now instead of having to do that, there's going to be a dock and other aspects that will make the mouse more useful for them.
Do you have a multi-screen setup, or like a multi-monitor setup for Pop?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have a desk big enough for a couple monitors. Well, it's a dream one day. My wife, we got plans to get a new, bigger desk, but she'd probably kill me if I probably got another monitor. But
Just mount it on the wall. She won't notice.
but no, I mean, I still use Peppermint on my main desktop, and then Pop's on my laptop here, and I just really like it.
Dual monitors are super cool. I kind of want. I've wanted to do that for the longest time, and my desk is just a little too short too. Just a little. I could probably make it work.
So what I have set up, what I have set up for
Peppermint,
monitors. Go ahead. I'm
oh,
sorry,
you're
go ahead.
fine. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, so multi-monitors, like I can't live without multiple monitors. Like I don't know how people function without it, because I go crazy.
It's really good for workflow.
But like I have a ultra wide right here, so I can look up
Yeah.
and see all the things I need to see. You know, like I'm not paying
Yeah.
attention to the chat over here like I should be.
Right.
And then the OBS is in the center. Then notes over here. But yeah, if I don't have multiple monitors, I don't know how I would function.
I guess it's one of those things. Once you go to dual monitors or multiple monitors, you'll never want to go back. Yeah.
True.
Well, exactly what you just said. You don't know how you get along without it.
So I remember Nate's old setup. It was quite epic.
It's still pretty much the same, except now instead of having two monitors, I just have the one big one. It works a lot better. So
I think if you were to use wall space, you could make it work, even with a short desk. Steve,
right?
Is something
Yeah, I know.
I
Well,
might
it's
do
also
that.
I'm not sure if my wife and son would.
Oh yeah,
I could just see them moving desktops over and that.
Yeah.
I gotta break her in a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time.
In time. But Pepper, I was going to ask Steve specifically about. I know Peppermint 10 has been released for a while, and they've done a respin on that probably by now. I know he said specifically it's been a year or two back that we were talking about it, not really knowing the direction of it going forward or if they were going to be able to do it. Is Peppermint 11 something we're going to see, or do you know?
Eventually, yeah. It's gonna be Debian based.
Okay, cool. I like that.
Why the
I'm
change?
not
I'll tell you
huge
something
about
that we are likely to see. I'll tell you something that we are likely to see. Is there something going to be released this week, Nate?
This week? Did I miss something?
This coming week?
Maybe.
Ubuntu.
Oh, that's right. Ubuntu. Paint me green and call me
Is that
Gumby.
this week?
Yeah, I think the Ubuntu's because they're in their release candidate stage right now, I believe, right?
We are currently at a release candidate stage. I
Right.
believe on Monday release candidates should be already spun up.
So has anyone been doing beta testing at all?
Well, I've been running Ubuntu Mate 2104 for a while now, but I run it because I'm developer of Ubuntu Mate. I joined the team, so it is something I just do, and I haven't really gone into deep looking for bugs, but for everyday usage, 2104 have been working fine for me. Besides some rather annoying bugs like 2 weeks ago when my internet just decided to drop out, and I had to do quite a bit of searching and fixing for it.
When they do new releases, don't they tend to make the biggest changes early on? So like,
Yeah,
okay,
biggest changes are we have a set of freeze times when we have to certain changes need to be done by that date. So for example, for quite a while now, artwork has been frozen. Well, the first freezes comes, I believe, from Debian import freeze. So when Debian imports are frozen, you don't get any more automatic imports, and you need to request them if you are a package maintainer. And stuff like that.
so I guess the point of me saying that though is like if you can get past running the early builds and you don't have a lot of problems, then you probably aren't going to hit like major problems. I don't know.
Not really, because um, should I say that in most changes happen for in February March time frame. That's when most changes happen, right before freezes, and most changes will actually happen after Debian freeze, but before the big freezes like artwork freeze and stuff like that.
Got it. Cool.
Oh,
All right.
Steve-
So you've been doing Mate. Anyone else trying other?
Well, I
has hand up.
attempted to look at Ubuntu Budgie last night, yesterday, and the 2104. And there is a bug in the installer that doesn't pick up if you're on legacy. So I was installing it on my testing laptop, which doesn't have EFI, and it was still installing EFI.
Oh boy.
And it's a known bug, and there's a couple of steps that you would have to take to get installed. I'm like, it's not worth it.
Got it.
Is that for all the flavors, or is that just for Budgie?
I don't know. I was specifically looking up Budgie. I don't know if it's in all the flavors. I mean, they basically use the same installer, but
I think that was a bug for 2104, and I reported that, and several people reported that. I don't think they ever fixed that.
yeah, they're supposedly going to fix it in 2110, right? They're coming up with
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes when freezes happen, it's kind of hard to fix, especially on these interim releases. But I should know that from what I heard, there shouldn't be many changes, at least to packages with 2110, since Debian is going into its own freeze because of release of the new version of Debian, which should be released by September, I believe. So Debian is going its own set of freezes, and that should put a bit of a damper on any evolution of packages in Ubuntu for now, unless the maintainers that are specific to Ubuntu upload their own changes. But how much that happens is another question.
I have to say, Budgie is gnome done right for me personally. But I like Solus's Budgie or Manjaro's Budgie better than I do Ubuntu. Ubuntu Budgie's nice, but yeah, I've always loved Budgie.
You know, it's Mark. It's interesting you say that because it is a cool exercise to like try Solus Budgie and then try Ubuntu Budgie, because that's a great example of how a distro can change a desktop environment. Quite a lot. Like for example, something I love that Ubuntu Budgie does is that they use Nemo instead of files, which I think is a really cool idea. And like obviously Solus doesn't do that, and Solus is very much like a traditional layout with the
Yeah.
Windows-esque sort of layout,
Yeah,
and then
yeah, that's more what I'm geared toward is Windows but
yeah.
I do like Mac layouts quite a bit. If I had the money, I'd have a Mac in here right now, but
Hmm.
it's expensive.
Have you tried the Sosumi Snap just to play around with it?
What did you say it was called again?
It's called Sosumi.
So sue me.
SOSUME. Yeah, and it's a
No.
snap. And if you install the snap, then you can just run it and install
Yeah.
a version of Mac OS just in a virtual machine to play around with.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. It's not great. The performance isn't like as though you're on native hardware. It's
So I could install real Mac OS and train myself on how to support Macs.
Is that
to
a
a
play on
degree.
words?
Yep.
So sue me. So sue me.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I've always loved that.
Thank you, man.
You know what that
You
comes
have
from? Though?
made my day. You helped me make money in
Well,
the future.
hopefully, Mark. And that's why I play with it, because it's like I have no hardware here to test out things, and someone asked me a question like, "How would you do this in Mac?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, okay, I guess I'll just fire up." And it takes you got to install it, and it takes a little bit of time. But once you have it set up, then it's just a virtual
Cool.
machine. Fire it up, and
Cool.
yeah. So, and that Sosumi comes from a sound. Believe it or not, that was one of their sound files back in the day.
Oh, okay.
It was the one that went like yeep yeep. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeep.
And that was
Yeah,
the
I remember.
Sosumi sound. Yeah.
Okay.
My wife was a big Mac classic OS Mac before the OS 10.
Yeah,
She
I'm.
was-
I like Windows 7 and Windows 8.1 better than I did Windows 10. I
Hmm.
know a lot of people really like Windows 10, but I think it's an okay OS. It's not very intuitive to me. The older I get, the simpler and just classic I like things to be. I think I would love running like an older version, of course, Big Sur does look pretty cool.
Well,
I think I
mean,
could run most any version of Mac and fall in love with it. I really do.
you could go back to Windows 3.11 if you wanted.
I gave macOS a legitimate try in Sosumi at one point, and honestly, it made me so angry because I was trying to do something and it wouldn't let me do it. So I tried using sudo, and sudo exists in macOS, but it does not give you full admin privileges. And I expect to be able to use that to do to get full admin privileges.
Oh yeah.
And because it's locked down like that, I can't make the modifications I want, and there's nothing I can do about it. So, what am I going to do if I
Mac
want
is
to
very
use
locked down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, you know what? I've always found
that's kind of sad though.
if it lets you do PASSWD, do the password, you can set the root password and sign on as root, and there you go.
Well,
yeah, true.
Root in macOS is not true root.
Yeah.
It is like a step down. It's difficult to explain, but the best way I can explain it is, from what I understand, there is something called staff group or staff user, and that is essentially the real root user, but even that doesn't have full root capabilities that root does on Linux.
Yeah.
It's more of it's not quite, but it's closer to an immutable file system type situation. It's not quite, but it's close to that. So even if you have root, there's nothing you can do to modify what I was wanting to modify, because I was wanting to modify a file in bin, and there's nothing I can do to that now. So
yeah,
I think if you felt like it was the same as Linux, yeah, you'd probably, or Unix like systems, then yeah, you're probably and that's the same disappointment I find, because it is a closed source operating system with some internals and guts of things that we're familiar with.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still very much like set, this is the Mac way. You do it that way or you don't do it, So you have to be okay with
the
that.
couple of times I used Mac, whether it be at school, whether it be fixing friends, I always find Mac and macOS really, really infuriating. and only reason I can in any way feel good helping out is because I can do an open terminal, and I feel at least a little bit placated. Because otherwise I just go, what the hell is happening here? This doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And
What really annoys me
My
about it is
friends,
It
just
is
like
a
in
different
Windows,
animal.
so just like in Windows,
It
if
really
you kill
is.
the file manager, you kill the desktop shell, and that
Yeah,
is the
right.
stupidest design decision I have ever seen. Your file manager and your desktop environment shell thing should be two completely separate processes. Period.
Yeah, I agree.
They should
I
not
agree.
be linked in any way possible.
Yep.
And the reason for that is because if one dies, the other one dies with it. So if
Yep.
you have a user who's stupid and kills one, they can still do something and not just completely get
To get it
killed with
back.
whatever they're doing. It also
Yep.
makes it so that I get that that file manager is there, even if they're using a third-party file manager. A developer can just assume that original first-party
Yep.
file manager is there and work with that. But at the same time, that's not how it needs to be done. There needs to be an internal API that says, okay, what is the default file manager that this user wants to use? Okay, open that, not the first
well,
party one. That's
well,
how we do it on Linux. That's what XDG Open is for. That it's not quite API, but that's what it's for. Is you call
Environment
that,
variables
give it a
open
file path, and it opens whatever the default file manager is.
well, specifically
That's how it should be done.
For Windows, there is in a system it has a really low amount of MIME type that you can actually, like I said, beyond file types. So many things, whatever is there is the choice, and yeah, it sucks you cannot have your own file manager, but kinda, who cares? Really, who cares? I truly be told, I don't care what file manager it is, whether it be Nautilus, Kaja, Mimo, Dolphin. And if I'm on Windows, if I use File Manager, Explorer, or it really doesn't matter to me. As long as I see files and I can open them, I can delete them. That's where user experience ends. And that's about for about 95% of users.
Yeah, probably.
There are some who wanna do double panes and stuff like that, but that is already for most people advanced feature, and that is for most people where it ends.
Yeah. Well, whenever my friends see me on the command line, they say, "Quit hacking."
If I use Dolphin, I've got to do double click. I got to turn that on. 'Cause I like Nemo, but I'm pretty much agnostic as far as file managers as well. So long as it has the core functionality, I find my way around. It just comes natural to me, and I pick it right up. So it doesn't matter to me. I even like Thunar.
Well, we had another. Someone else joined the chat, and they go by Tux Power PC. So I don't know if he runs the Power PC chips or what's going on.
No, that's me, Nate.
I know.
You know better than that.
Well, I just
You've been gone so long, old
Poke,
man.
yeah, I haven't seen you in
been a
since
long
Joe,
time.
how you doing?
Since you still had hair.
Yeah, well, then that's really long. I haven't had hair for a long time. So yeah.
So
how's everybody doing? It's wonderful to see everybody.
Yeah, great. So
come back to the family.
That's right. Came back to the family. Make an offer you can't
Yeah.
refuse. So what's going on with you? What new things in Linux have you been doing, or have you been watching anything? Any are you excited about anything rolling down?
You know, I watch everything that everybody else does probably pretty much. I know it's a boring blanket statement, but I really haven't done a lot of changing. I'm still on the same distro since last summer, which is Manjaro.
Oh, I
KDE.
didn't know that. I thought you were a Linux Mint user primary.
I was for a long time until it decided to dump on me, and I said that was enough. Actually, what did it? looking back was I started having issues where it seemed like things were happening with the mint spices, and I couldn't get it. And come to find out, long and short of it was is that they were redoing their servers, never told anybody, and I wound up kept wiping my distros over it, thinking that I had problems. And I said that was enough. And Michael Tennell suggested, Manjaro KDE, and that's what I've been on ever since. I do have Kubuntu uh, on my little workstation back there, but I still like this even over that, and I have loved it. And the only time I've ever had a problem with this is like every other time. Usually I break it myself when I was experimenting, but I've learned my lesson. I haven't touched it. I let it do its thing, and it's been perfect so far. Knock on wood. So I really am enjoying this.
And Manjaro is fantastic. It's such a good, solid distro. It gets a bad rep because it's based on Arch, and Arch has a little more breakage, so to speak, than Ubuntu. But I've always had a fantastic, stable experience with Manjaro on
I
most
saw.
any D that I've run.
I don't know if you remember Heather. She goes with Pinky in the Telegram group. I saw today she had a little bit of an issue. I haven't followed Telegram as closely as I should either, but she was showing her laptop and it was flashing a different color each time. And right away, they were blaming the distro. And to me, what it looked like was almost like a system check when your system goes through its BIOS check of the hardware. And I was wondering if that wasn't what was happening rather than the distro, when it does the display check.
If
So
if it's still throwing, if it doesn't correct itself by restarting the computer, if it does it again on restart, it sounds like kind of a video graphics failure.
Right. Yeah. I didn't think it was with the distro. I figured it was something with her system.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, I mean, I'm just watching all the usual channels, and just I haven't seen a lot of new things coming down. I think that are yay moments with Linux yet. I mean, I do think it's still moving in the same direction that it's been, which is forward. I still see some of the things happening with Windows and its incorporation in it, but I'm mixed emotion about that still. I still have my reluctancy with that, but to me, I'm just happy using my little tool here for my job, and I'm happy with it.
Well, good deal.
Oh, sorry.
That's the main thing, that you're happy, Joe. That is that is you find your sweet spot in something that you can rock with for a while. That's beautiful. We love Linux because of freedom of choice.
Yeah.
For sure.
What I was just curious, has anybody seen where Poppy went? Now that he's not with Conical.
Popey?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he actually told anyone yet.
Yeah, I think he has not announced it
publicly.
Yeah.
Okay.
He has. He announced it on his Twitter feed this week.
Oh, he did. He announced he was leaving. I didn't see where he was going. I thought I saw.
Yeah, he officially leaves Conical on the 30th.
Yeah.
Right, but did he say where he was going? That's what we were asking.
I believe he's been doing something, but not. I mean, I know Wimpy has definitely announced where he is now.
Yeah.
But Popey's still yet to tell us where he's going, I think.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if he went with.
I wonder if he went with Popey, with Wimpy.
Not sure, to be told.
Those were the two shockers I think that I came across. I didn't realize that those guys had left until just recently. So
It makes me.
That's wild. Alan Pope's been with Ubuntu forever.
Yeah. Well, but not as an employee, and I think that kind of changes things in a lot of ways. I think if you guys, I'm sure you've all done this in your life, where you do something that's fun and you do it as a hobby, but then if you ever do that thing for money, all of a sudden it's a different thing.
It becomes a job.
Well, yeah, and it becomes something that you can't just enjoy for the simple fact that you're doing it.
You can't put it down when you want to. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Not that you can't enjoy doing it as a job. I'm not saying that's not possible,
right,
but it definitely changes things. So I wonder, maybe that. But I was saying this to Nate earlier. I'm running Ubuntu right now, and I think one of the reasons that I was always so comfortable was because of people like Popey and Wimpy, where you had a face. You knew people that were in the company that were working on it, and now without those two familiar people, I wonder who's in there, who's working on this stuff. Now obviously the flavors we kind of know who all those people are, but Ubuntu itself, and Mark Shuttleworth and everybody kind of says that desktop is a focus, but I always kind of wonder like what's going to happen.
Well, the most funny thing is that Popey and for most of the time we knew Wimpy. Actually, he didn't have any kind of influence over desktop. They mostly were part of Snapcraft team when that was, and Wimpy actually got the position like really recently when he got back involved with desktop team. So
okay, Max said that Monica's in there as a community person. Okay, that's great.
Monica got the job right
Okay.
before Wimpy left.
Awesome. Good. I'm glad to hear that then. And I don't mean to, I have no basis for spreading. Ubuntu's been great to me for a very, very long time, and I've never paid them a dime. So I'm not questioning decisions being made or anything like that. I just certainly hope that they continue to value the desktop space, when it would be pretty easy for the company to just say, yeah, we probably shouldn't spend so much time on that.
Yeah.
Well, Ubuntu has such a place in the Linux community and will always have a legacy no matter what they decide to do, because it's always been the gateway distro for new users to Linux. Whenever we recommend Linux, what do we recommend? A lot of us recommend Linux Mint, Ubuntu Mate, or we used to back in the day recommend Mate more, or we recommend something Ubuntu based. And it's always been a stable distro for the most part for new users, and something that they could just pick up and use and learn in no time.
Well, and I still think so, yes, and then it's the basis for so many other distributions as well. But then I think if I had a company that came to me and said, look, we really don't like Windows, or we only need our computers to do these very specific things, or we want, you've always talked about Linux, so what should we do? It would still be hard not to think of Ubuntu as like my first thought of like, okay, I've got 10 desktops I've got to roll out. What operating system or what distro do I want on there? It's hard not to immediately think like Ubuntu, because it's just Ubuntu and it's always there. And if you put the LTS version on, then it's just going to run and work. And,
Well, I'm going to bow out and go back to chat so someone else can take my spot if they want to.
All right, we'll see you. Thanks for stopping by.
You're welcome. No problem. Good talking to you. Bye.
What about the desktop environment then? Would you stay with GNOME, or would you do something that'd be more Windows-like, like Cinnamon or God?
That's a good question.
Lightweight ones.
Yeah, no. It's as a thought exercise. It's a great question, because when Adam put Ubuntu in front of,
his girlfriend,
in front of his, exactly. She didn't quite, it wasn't easy enough. I mean, so fair enough. She didn't seem to struggle too much. Yeah, I mean, but it didn't seem like she was lost. Like, I think she kind of got the idea of like, okay, it's a computer. There are going to be icons. I can click on things, and like that all seemed to be fine. It was when she went to start installing programs or stuff like that where she's kind of started to hit the problems, because she was open-minded
because she had used she's not new to computers in general.
Right.
She was new to Ubuntu, and all the things that make Ubuntu is the part that it all fell apart on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had this really great experience seeing a class of IT students try Linux and Ubuntu for first time, because most of those haven't actually touched Linux because they didn't have to. And that was first time we encountered Linux in studies. And that was an amazing experience seeing them, how they got lost and where they got lost. They didn't get lost in the desktop. They didn't get lost they got lost when they had to do a specific, more system task, whether it be looking internet, whether it be file management, they all got through that. But when it came to installing stuff, when it came
Package
to
managers,
settings, stuff like that,
yeah.
very specific stuff, there where they got lost, because stuff like how to open a file, the file manager still has a very, very familiar icon. It's a folder in one way or another. You're gonna
Right.
click on that.
Right.
Browser is still either Chrome, Firefox, whatever.
Right.
It's still same as on Windows, and many is still same on Windows, same as on Mac.
You know,
So
and the
only
proof.
the really specific stuff are the ones where they got lost. And when they got lost real hard and really needed real help. And that's when I had to fix everything.
You know, in Big Pod, that's
I
a good-
remember that. So you go ahead, Eric.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I remember one of the biggest things for me when I switched over full time was the file structure. Just learning that. Where's program files? I can't see where it is.
I'm still learning that.
And just knowing where everything's stored.
Robin,
yeah, just on what Big Pod was saying. That's one of the biggest things.
Robin had something to
So
say.
I
want to hear what Robin had to say. He has his hand
Yeah,
up.
I was just going to bring up the subject. I know you were talking about. We were testing the latest betas. Obviously, going to be in full release this week. And no one's spoken about Mate, because Ubuntu Mate. If you take a look now at this release, they're going to push this week. They have a new theme, so we finally get rid of that sort of dated look.
Really?
Yeah,
So,
finally we did it. Yay.
kidding.
Yay. So, okay, Big Pod, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so
Yaru,
that was one of the last thing Martin
Yeah.
basically did while he was still at Canonical. It was started while he was still at Canonical, using his spool a little bit, but it was a great effort by Yaru team and Martin to get it working and integrated very well into Mate, and I gotta say they did a really, really good job.
They've done a fantastic job, and I would fully recommend you guys take a look, because Marte's always been a bit of a kind of turn off for me, but looking at this release for 2104 is definitely going to impress lots of people. And if you're looking at users coming across from Windows, they will love this release. And I will say as well, for the main Ubuntu base as well, I'm running it here right now on my production machine, and I'm happy that we're seeing elements of updated GNOME, but not too much. I mean, it's on 3.38 still. We're not going to see 40 for a while yet. But I'm still
Quite a
able
while.
to obviously use dash to panel and all the extensions, which is great. So yeah, but the one thing I am seeing improved in this update is improvements to Wayland. I'm definitely seeing my desktop a bit more stable now under Wayland.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It really seems like
the,
that has finally hit a tipping point. Isn't that interesting?
I think it is, because the way I see this, Eric,
Wayland,
is
it's
that
been
I
like
got a
15
feeling that
years, and finally feels like it's.
They have. I mean, I got a feeling that the 2204 LTS build is going to have a serious shock to the current LTS users. And I think the way that we're seeing these 6 monthly updates happening right now, 2104, when you look at it now, it gets me more excited about 2110 and into next year when the 2204 LTS build comes out. So, this is really looking great for them, I think.
Well, with 2204, I think a lot of it will come to how Wayland will be received in next two releases, in the one coming and the 2110. It's gonna make whether Wayland will be in 2204.
Are they going to follow suit with Fedora and making ButterFS the default, or are they going to continue with the ZOS or
ZFS?
ZFS is still the main focus of Ubuntu, as far as I'm aware, but it is just one of the options. So technically, they could allow ButterFS as one of the options, since technically speaking, ZFS is an advanced option anyway, so it isn't a default. It is
Well,
you
the
must.
major thing that I had a problem with ZFS was the fact that you had to have the entire drive ZFS.
I believe you
You
have to
couldn't
do that
just
with.
have a
I believe
have a
you
partition.
have to do that with Butterfest as well.
We can partition
No,
better.
you can have a specific partition only as
Really,
ButterFS.
really.
Yeah, you just
So
have to put the sub partitions in there or the sub.
I see.
Um, go
Sub
ahead.
volumes.
Yeah.
So I saw
Sub
some hands
volumes,
were up. So Tux Power PC. You had something about your G5 Mac you wanted to bring up.
No, actually, and I didn't want to change the subject while we was talking here. I did have one, if you wanted to call it kind of a feel-good story that happened over the last several months. It started out on, that's a good note. I've got a childhood friend I've known since 3 years old, and he, along with a lot of people with the pandemic, had gotten furloughed and then permanently laid off. And then he found out he had Parkinson's.
Oh boy!
And I had been keeping a machine going for him. I don't know, it was a 2009 Dell, and I decided to build him a machine this year. Well, I didn't just do it myself. My 6-year-old grandson actually did a lot of the work with my
Nice.
supervision, and
Did you make
he
him wear
is
the wrist
actually
thing
running.
so he wouldn't
What's
shock?
that?
Did you make him wear like the wrist, the stop?
No,
shock?
actually, I didn't. I
Get
just
that?
had him keep grounding himself out on the case. So, but of course, he had to test it out, and we had Linux Mint on it. So I don't want to sound like Mint's the worst thing in the world because I had my issue with it, but I think I was kind of looking for a change anyway. But we put Mint on it, and he absolutely loves the machine. My grandson got to test it out. I put a big Merry Christmas message on it, and he actually has an old netbook that I've been keeping going for him too, and that's had Peppermint on it, but he's been having some issues with that. So I thought maybe I might wind up putting Mint on that for him too. But that's probably the big Linux thing with me. And I thought if my grandson showed the interest in it, my goal is when his parents say it's okay for him to have his own machine, is I'm going to have him help me build another actual really nice machine. And then it's actually going to be his machine that he's building, and he's not going to know that until we give it to him once he's done with it. So, but it's funny because shortly after that, I was changing a processor on another machine. He walked in, he goes, "Well," he says, "what are you doing?" He says, "Building a machine without me." So I thought that was pretty cool too. So
PCTLC, you had something, you raised your hand as well.
Oh yeah, I wanted to test my mic to start with.
Oh,
Is
okay.
it working
Well,
fine?
it sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. No worries. ButterFS and ZFS. What's the advantages? Somebody tell me.
Snapshots.
The advantages over what?
Butterfs has easy RAID support.
This
It's literally like one command and you make an entire RAID array. And it doesn't have to be an entire drive. You can make RAID out of certain partitions. So that can be useful.
Okay, I'm not planning any raids. I just want to use a desktop. So what wouldn't ext4 be the best option?
Really, the snapshot option is, or snapshot capability is probably one of the best recovery options that are available, because you can point your FS tab to whatever snapshot you want to have active. And so if you accidentally delete a file or
bork your system
becomes corrupt, yeah, whatever, you can point your FS tab to that to a snapshot that you had before that incident, and you can have a working system again. Yeah. So
also deduplication
takes all about 2 minutes.
ButterFS has some deduplication too. So like if you have multiple files on the same, file system that are the same, are identical for whatever reason, with the deduplication, it actually doesn't have duplicate files. It keeps them. It basically, so it uses less space essentially with that. So there's little things like that too that are really nice. I use ButterFS, just actually one partition on this particular machine that I'm using right now. And one, I have noticed that versus the machine that it does actually have some mirrored, like it's using SyncThing. I mirror the file systems so that I have all my data on either machine. This actually uses significantly less storage for the same amount of data. And I don't know what magic sauce is in there. I know it's not compression, but I think it's with deduplication and maybe some other things. but I actually have more available space with less actual drive, and that's going from XFS to Btrfs. I don't know. I don't know
It's
the
also
nuances of the reasons.
it's also a journaling system, but does not have the overhead, or doesn't have as much overhead as, let's say, like ext4 does.
Oh.
So.
All right, and Big Pod, you want to get something in on this? I'm sure.
Well, not on this. I want to go one topic. When you mentioned PowerPC, I remember that the rover on Mars uses PowerPC processors.
Is it a Power 5, or is it something older?
I believe it's from '98.
Perfect.
Year
It's brand new.
98.
I'm sure that's all they can afford.
Because it's not because it's the only thing I could afford. It's because that's believed that one of the last versions of PowerPC CPUs actually still has the radiation support. It's one of the red versions of PowerPC CPUs, and I believe it's 6,000 something.
That's interesting. So it has again. Wait. So
No,
you said
or maybe it's Red 750. Not sure. Something around there.
It's interesting. I know that they kind of go with older, more tested hardware for
this
such
is
things.
not about being tested more better, because it is a radiation shield that it won't get messed up by sun.
Also interesting.
So Damon in the comments, YouTube comments, was asking if anyone knows of a good tutorial or an how-to for Btrfs, more than just a surface level explanation, like maybe use cases, like how could I use Btrfs and how can I do snapshots and different things.
Chris Titus has some stuff on it, and I used him to get myself introduced to it.
Okay.
I don't like it completely, because he really just starts describing what the snapshots and the sub volumes are good, and how and why you would want to use that, but he doesn't really get into the system, to the file system.
Okay.
There are some other ones out there. I think I can't think of his name right now.
Well, if anyone,
one of the bigger Linux channels, he
DistroTube maybe.
No, DT. I don't think he did, but oh god, who's there's a couple of them out there that really get into.
All right. Well, if anyone has any thoughts on it, just
I would
just let
first
us
ask,
know.
what is it you want to do for that? Like, as far as tutorials and explanation, I can probably find something for you, but I can't do it immediately. I don't know if you're on Telegram, you can hit me up at Cubicle Nate, or you can go to the BDLL Telegram group and hit me up there as well, if you want. But one of the if you want to just try Btrfs on a running system, or without having to set it up, openSUSE is probably one of your best options, since when everyone else kind of walked away from Btrfs for a while, openSUSE, actually SUSE, was still championing it, and now there's been some people are paying attention to it again, and they have it set
I believe
up. And
Time Machine.
They don't use Time Machine. They actually just use it's called Snapper, and it's really easy to just use. Like, you don't have to faff with it or mess with any configuration files.
Right.
You can just walk right into it, and you can use it, and you can see how the snapshot system works, and then see how they lay out their sub volumes, and so forth. And also, openSUSE Elite 15.3 is coming up in the next couple of months. So if you want to beta test that, which maybe that may not be the thing you want to do right now, but they do have a really good way if you want to just kind of start in it. And I'll see what I can find. So if you're in the BDLL chat room, or I'll put some when I post this in the Big Daddy Linux discourse forum, I will put any references or resources I have for Btrfs in there as well. So it's discourse.bigdaddylinux.com. Eric, you set it up, so I think that hopefully I said that correctly.
Yeah, that's right. And to Nate's point, I think these tools work best whenever they're baked in to the distro. So any distro you can choose to use Btrfs. I mean, you could just format your hard drive that way and point the installer to it, and there you go. It's not like you can't do that. But the the beautiful part of Butterfest on openSUSE, like Nate's saying, is Snapper is just built in. So when you run an update, if something happens and you can't boot, or that version that you installed won't work for some reason, it's built right in that you can just say what was the last snapshot, choose that, roll back to it, and that's the same thing that Ubuntu is doing with ZFS, and so when it's built in, and to Chris's point, different backup systems will also have Butterfs support where they use snapshots versus traditional, I guess, backup methods. But that's where I've
Copies of
like
rsync or anything like that.
exactly, and that's so openSUSE. When I think of like one of the best points of openSUSE, the best selling points, absolutely Butterfs has to be one of the top ones, because it's almost impossible to break, honestly.
So when you say it's baked in, and if something goes wrong, at what level do you get that snapshot working? Is it in the when you boot up? It's part of the boot menu or something. The grub.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
So reboot in the grub. You say go. Then you can select one of the options is read only snapshot, and then you can go. It'll keep a number of snapshots. In fact, you can tune that. You can increase that or decrease that however you want. I wrote a little article on that, and then you can just go into that. And if that's a snapshot that works, then you go into terminal and do sudo snapper rollback, and then you're done. And then reboot it, and you're into that read and write version of that snapshot. And it works brilliantly, actually.
Really well. Yeah, it works really well.
I mean, it saved my bacon more than once, because somebody like, oh, I'm going to update this on this dodgy network here just because I have nothing. I don't know why I'm doing this. I know better, and I do that, and then something happens with the update process, and then it goofs up. I can roll back, and it's like it never even happened. It's like ServPro, and they clean up. It cleans up the mess that I make. Because I make messes all the time, and I think without Snapper, that whole rollback feature, I wouldn't be a very happy Linux user. So
I was just messing around with Fedora 34 in a VM, and I noticed that they've got Butterfs as default as well.
Yep, they don't have.
So I don't know.
Last I checked, they don't have all the Snapper stuff in it yet. I know they're working on that. I know there's some developers for openSUSE and Fedora.
I think it's in the repo though.
It might. I think it is. It is in the repo, but they don't have it like openSUSE has it baked into Grub, and everything else has like interconnected.
Right.
So there's a way of doing all those things in Fedora. It's just not quite as easy, and I think it's coming. It will be coming to Fedora. I'm quite certain, based on someone who I've chatted with about that. I'm not going to just throw their name out there because I don't get in trouble.
Fedora 33 is when they started putting Butterfs as the default.
Yeah.
So.
And also, JJ, he has his hand up, and I feel like I've kind of passed by him. So sorry about that, JJ, or J4 as you're known, as I see you on here.
Can you hear me all right?
You sound unusually great.
Yeah, not unbelievably loud.
It's been a while, you guys. I really do appreciate you guys being here tonight and all that. So, not sure if you've heard from the last time Nate did this, but I've shifted over to openSUSE. So,
oh, really?
I'm on the. Well, I already told you this last time.
I know, but I just want to sound surprised. Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm actually on the right on the edge, running Tumbleweed. So I've been seeing a lot of stuff coming in to the openSUSE pipeline, such as Pipewire and Wayland support. And I've been using Wayland and full Wayland most of the time whenever I run openSUSE. So and I've experienced some better performance, especially when playing games on Wayland. So that's been my experience. The frame rates are a little bit better and more stable. Although there have been a few small things, like I did try the OBS beta in order to stream out to Twitch, and I was able to do some of the stuff through OBS. It's not as user friendly as what OBS usually is, but
yeah,
I was able to get it to a real good stream to test out a while back. So,
but that kind of isn't OBS's fault. OBS must actually implement the whole new set of APIs, and they need to implement the whole security structure of how Wayland now works, because you cannot just do direct stuff like you did in X. X basically had everything open. Now Wayland keeps everything in its own maybe it's called XDG portal, and everything is inside those. And if you want to record, you need to have part of the APIs you need to set up yourself. Part of them are via Wayland, and it's kind of a mess they need to deal with, and nobody knew who had to deal with it until somewhat recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for the most part, I've been enjoying using Wayland so far. Also, Pipewire being the big thing that's coming up soon in many Linux distros. Anyone really want to talk about that?
Pipewire.
I've been meaning to try it. I haven't found a distro yet that I feel comfortable with doing that sort of testing on, because I want to do something where I know how to use it really, really well. Like, yeah, I can use a Fedora base or an Arch base any day, but I typically use Ubuntu, and that's what I know the best. So I'm looking for something Ubuntu based that has Pipewire support, so I can easily do that words are hard. So I can do that swap. And I might be able to do it if I were to do like a rolling Rhino, I guess you could call it.
Yeah,
but
I mean, reasons
kind
why
of problem.
Yeah, I wanted a little faster cadence compared to Ubuntu, so that's why I was recommended to go to openSUSE. I might have pushed myself to the edge again by using Tumbleweed, so that thing right there might be my downfall at this point, but maybe that's just me.
Snapper rollback.
I wouldn't be surprised if I could like use Solus and get it, but I haven't used Solus since that time we were doing it as a distro challenge, and it borked my laptop. So yeah,
I think Vash really, because Vash has tried Pipewire on Fedora. It sounds like it's working pretty darn great there. So you might, if you really want to play around with it, I'd say, hop on Fedora. Fedora tends to be really forward-leaning too. And in some ways, they push out the new technologies. Actually, they tend to push out new technologies quicker than anybody else. So at least that's been my experience. I could be wrong.
I might do that. I'll definitely try it on something, like install it to a flash drive and just configure the flash drive to load up my home partition on this machine, so that I can actually give it a try with some games. Because that's why I'm looking at it. Is I'm wondering if I can switch Draugr OS to using Pipewire and maybe reduce the ISO size, or fix some Pulse bugs, because we all know Pulse has been broken because what's his name still hasn't fixed it.
Well, you know what? If you if you undertake that,
yeah,
Thomas, I'm actually very curious to know what that would be like to replace and put Pipewire in place.
So Pipewire is audio manager.
Pipewire is essentially a Pulse audio replacement, but it also is capable of replacing like Jack and also simultaneously.
No,
it's very powerful.
Not also cannot replace Ulsa, because that is a lot more lower level than actual Pipewire. In a way, Pipewire replaces Pulse, but it still has certain Pulse APIs implemented. It pretends to be Pulse because otherwise nothing would work. And it is in some ways somewhat hacky how it is all made. But if they get it done, if distributions will start supporting it, then it will be better solution than Pulse. But it isn't exactly a replacement, because applications will need to do some development to actually make it properly work.
And also, Pulse has like has a video component to it as well, doesn't it?
It does.
Now, would that be like what you would use if you're using like Wayland and want to do screen cap or something like that, or screen sharing or something like that, or what is the purpose of that?
So the video portion of it, it's basically making it so you can do things like OBS or things like WebRTC
Well,
type usage?
that is again something a bit more complex. It's actually, but as far as I know, it's just for sound part of the window, so you can actually get sound from Windows because it all goes under the XDG portal set of, and actually Pipewire works with XDG portals just like Wayland. That's why you need Pipewire working with conjunction with Wayland to actually get stuff from Windows for OBS and for other things like that. But it isn't the carrier for visual signals or memory copy of visual stuff. It just enables certain components of that.
Okay.
It seemed like Vash has been. I mean, I was playing with Jack and stuff before I got sick and a while ago, earlier last year. And it seemed like from what Vash was showing me and playing around with, like it's more of a pipeline, and I guess Pipewire is a good name for it because it's essentially just piping audio, but it's doing it in a it's the lower level. It's the lower level carrier of the audio in and out, input and output, and then it can manage whether it's Pulse or ALSA or Jack or all those other things.
As far as I know, it works on top of ALSA, but works at the same level as Pulse, Jack, and all that, but can be lower than Pulse and Jack if properly configured.
I think it integrates itself lower into the system, so there's no latency between that and ALSA like there is. Pulse has some latency in it.
But and thankfully this might be good for audio creators who want to, and also possibly for podcast users as well.
Here's kind of the way so when I think back to how Jack worked, right? You have to start Jack, and then if you want desktop applications to be Jack aware or use Jack, then there has to be some amount of awareness on their part to know Simple Screen Recorder. I mentioned that earlier. The reason I use it is because you can actually pick the input, the audio input, and also it is Jack aware. So whenever you would turn it on, let's say you had Jack running and then you start Simple Screen Recorder with Jack, then you saw it show up in your canvas of available objects to sort of move around. And what Vash had showed me was that Pipewire sort of just showed all of the objects, not just the ones that were Jack aware.
Not exactly. Pipewire actually pretends to be Jack and Pulse. That's a big thing that
it interconnects with it.
It actually pretends the what application CDC the applications will think it's either Jack or Pulse, even though it's actually really Pipewire because it implements certain APIs that are specific to Pulse, specific to Jack.
I guess I need the
But
guide
am I right in understanding though that once applications get sort of rewritten to be aware of Pipewire, that you won't need those extra layers for Pulse Audio and Jack? Is that right?
Yes, from what I understand, yes.
Right. Yeah, and I think that'll be the powerful thing is that instead of all these translation layers, right? I think that, and that's where a lot of the people complain about latency in Pulse.
Yep.
That's a big part of it because it has to go in and out of different systems also and everything else. And that's where that latency comes in. And also you've probably recognized or seen this yourself whenever you plug in a microphone or a USB audio device or something, depending on your system, it can be a real problem sometimes. It'll just upset everything, you've got,
Eric, do you remember when the last times I saw you after show, you had helped me with the mic and trying to get it to sound better. And of course, I'm sure it sounds much different now than last time. And you know what did it for me? Aside from turning the mic in the right direction this time, Manjaro, whatever they have configured in here, because it doesn't sound the same on an Ubuntu base. So they have a number of packages configured just right, and I swear to God, that's what's made the difference.
Which desktop environment are you using, Joe?
It's the KDE, and I think it's 2002. I'm on the latest, whatever it is. So
yeah, you know what, and that is I agree. Again, that's where a distro can come in and make a big difference, because all of the underlying software is the same, but the way that the distro puts it together and tunes it makes such a big difference.
There are some optimizations you can make to pulse to make it sound a lot better, and they are made by default by many distributions. And that default configuration makes a lot of difference how it is default set up.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, Joe, don't feel bad. I used my mic in reverse for quite a long time.
I remember that. I remember that.
How can
Yeah.
you use a mic in reverse?
Well,
It's a
first of all,
well-
being new to the mic and not knowing.
To be fair, if you look at the Yetis, they are it's a little confusing.
It is. Yeah, it certainly is.
Well, and I have a 5-fine, but it looks the same on both sides. You got a dial on one side, and
right.
So I didn't realize until you
So
straightened
many
that
correction
out.
videos on these microphones. I tell you.
No, but
Well-
what Joe's talking about is we were on Discord one night, and it was just like, Joe, why don't you just try turning it so it's facing you?
Yeah.
Well,
And I brought it a little bit closer, and I worked with distances back and forth. And the first thing that I have some other friends I hang out from time to time, and this guy happens to be an audio type guy anyway. We're car audio, and he was the one. He says, "Try it this back and forth," and he explicitly said, "He says you sound like you've got that low tone radio voice now with this," and he knew the difference as soon as I was on a different distro, you know, and. It did. It made all the difference in how they have it configured. I don't know how many, I tried to look through the packages and I see a few things in there, but I still don't know what their
Pulse
recipe is,
configuration-
so to speak.
Pulse configuration. That does
Yeah.
a lot of things
Yeah.
to the quality
Yeah.
you can do.
And
yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's that time. We've hit our 2 hour and 3 minute mark.
8 minutes.
So I'd like to go. Well, I started late because I was having technical issues. I had to swap out a computer at the last moment. So anyway, I'd like to go around the horn and last word. We'll do the last word thing. Oh, actually, I want to throw this out here before I start that. Is anybody interested in maybe testing any of the distros for next week? Is that something someone wants to do? Do we want to play with distros? Is that a thing?
Maybe.
Maybe.
You could do that.
I may
How
have a
about-
video to produce, but I need stuff to do.
Yeah.
How
So-
about we?
I
Go
do
ahead.
have videos to produce, well.
This is a cheerocracy. So go ahead and cheer away.
I'm the cheer-tater.
Yeah.
No, I think if we just want to try things independently and just
Okay.
knowing that we have a meeting to come back to and to talk to people about it, then I think that's one thing.
Okay.
If we want to try to be more organized about it, it's fine.
I think because we have a whole all the Ubuntu's are going to get released here. So I don't know if anyone wants to start looking at Ubuntu's, or we're too early for that yet. I'm up for taking any input here. I will be playing around with Kubuntu because I want to see their implementation of Plasma. So I will be doing that. If anybody wants to check out any Ubuntu's or anything,
Do you mean Ubuntu Studio then, Nate? Ubuntu Studio with this release moves to Plasma.
Really?
They did the last release, actually, Robin. I think.
Oh, it was the last one with it.
Oh,
yeah, 2004. I think.
I think
was
along
the-
with looking at some distros, like we were doing toward the end of the last middle run, was looking at a lot of different apps. And the reason why I'm saying that is I know I'm sounding like a big fanboy here, Manjaro, but I'm absolutely blown away at the amount of applications that are available in here that may not be available in other distros, or in some and not the other.
Yeah.
Hyponics is one of them, or Hypnotics. I don't know how still can't pronounce it.
Well,
but there's some really nice apps in here too. So I think the combination of both, however you want to do it's fine with me.
Well,
here's what's interesting.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Here's what's interesting. More interesting, I think, to me and others as well. One of the problems we ran into all the time whenever it was like, okay, everybody go try this, was unless you had a reason to outside of doing it for Biddle, a lot of people would just come back and say, well, yeah, I looked at it and okay, this was that color and they had this program installed. Like there really wasn't a lot of depth to it, and that's not meant to be like a negative thing necessarily, because you still could get some interesting things out of that. What I love to hear is like, what problem did you have that you solved, or if there was a new thing that came out, did you try and actually do something with it? The pitfall I think we ran into before was everybody felt like they had to come up with something to say about the thing that was being tested, instead of it being more about, what did you do? You know, what was the thing that you discovered this week, or something like that. So
It started getting a little stale and
Maybe
rolling
we
off the
could
rails a
try
little bit. Yeah.
something like this, something standard podcast-ish.
And it got to be difficult because when there were 20 people or 30 people, Rocco was trying to get around everybody, and it was like the first hour was nothing but feedback from that.
Yeah.
And then you get a developer on for that, and just became very difficult to kind of get it to
But
work.
that's why he started dividing it up and doing the 2-week runs too, to try to help
But even
alleviate
that-
that. But it's still got, you're right, it's still got a little money up. But I think
Another week
well,
was
I think taking a look at a specific distro, maybe something that's new that came out, instead of maybe looking at all the same old things or whatever, might be another avenue to go, because there are some new ones that have come out that nobody's looked at from time to time. And
well, what I'd like to do is either like in Telegram or on the Big Daddy Linux discourse page, because I'll have an entry there. But you know, we'll maybe start some discussions, and then maybe things that we can roll into the show. So you know, so if there's something like that's really, you know, exciting about a distro that's coming out or whatever. I mean, I'm going to talk about openSUSE just because I have an almost unhealthy obsession with it. So that's just going to happen. But I don't want to make it the openSUSE show as much as I would like to. And
well, I still think we should be installing Gentoo soon. So yeah, that's gonna be forever.
No. Linux from scratch.
And actually,
no, I don't want to kill everybody here.
It would be
Let's do Gentoo.
if somebody did want to do that, I would love to get like a weekly report of how things are going with them on that distribution. It'd be interesting for people to hear. You know, a Draugr OS report every week I think is interesting for people to hear. You know, Ubuntu Mate update every week is, I almost said Ubuntu Mint, and I'm like, I don't know what happened. Something got crossed in my head. If you know, bring the part of your Linux experience, your computing experience, you know, to the group. I think, because you know that's kind of why I come here. I like to hear what people do. You know,
we have so much choice, right? And I love when someone makes a choice and then they can tell me why it's interesting. Like Nate, you know, I'm not an openSUSE user. I just have nothing against it, but I love that he can articulate like, here's a really cool thing that I did with openSUSE because it has it built into YAST, or what, you know, something like that. So
zipper update.
or zipper dup if you're gonna on the tumbleweed.
That's right.
Yeah.
There you go.
But anyway, so I'm gonna go around the horn, and then we can, you know, to be continued next week. We'll be back to chat more Linux-y stuff. Is that a word, Linux-y? Can we say Linux-y? Linux-y.
Linux-ish.
Linux-ish. Linux-like.
Linux and beyond, as some of them say.
Linux-y.
Yeah. Well, beyond sounds like to infinity and beyond. You know, I don't want to get the Disney hammer on me, so I'm not going to do that. But
yeah, don't do
anyway,
that.
Yeah, that's a big hammer. So anyway, let's go around. I'll start with Bat Castle. You know what? I got to tell you something. My memory is not great, and I know your name, but you put Bat Castle on there, and so I'm kind of stuck, and I have to call you that, or Draugr OS, dude.
That is okay.
Yeah.
My real name is Thomas.
Thomas.
Yes, I tell people to remember it like the tank engine.
Right.
I'm just not blue, and the smoke doesn't come out of my head. You know.
You're like cool if you
Maybe
said
it should.
And of course, I always have kindergartners calling me.
Boy,
Thomas
am I
Tank.
glad you clarified that. I'll tell you.
At the start of the stream.
But last word. Okay. Well, thank you for doing this again. I have missed Biddle. I'm sure I said that at least a half dozen times in the last couple low rent versions of this that you did. But I'm going to say it again because I missed it. I'm sorry I've been in and out. I have a 3D printer back here printing something, and last time it printed that thing, it kind of destroyed itself. So I'm trying to hope it doesn't do that again. Thankfully, the fix was like $15, so that's a pretty easy fix.
That might be a good topic too, Thomas, because I'm definitely interested in 3D printing, so that might be something.
Hit me up for it on Telegram, and I will rant about it all day long.
Nice.
Cool beans.
Okay.
It is really, really cool, let me tell you. But I'll give you a quick update on Drugger OS. We are just released update to kernel 5.11.13. Haven't had as many issues as Pop OS has on 5.11, because I have a friend who works at System 76, and he says it has been a journey getting everyone on 5.11. So, but other than that, yeah, it's running fantastic.
Cool.
The only issue I'm having with it is my RGB is not being set back to what it's supposed to be when I come out of suspend, but that's an RGB issue, not Drugger OS. But yeah, thanks again.
Thank you, Thomas. Vince, are you still there? Did you fall asleep?
Nate. Yep, I'm still here. You the man, Nate. Thanks so much for bringing this back and taking on the reins a little bit. I know it's a lot of work getting this running again, but and you know how excited I actually got. I told you last night when I just knowing that this was going to be on in the morning for me when I wake up. So thank you so much for that. I actually really like the idea of maybe everybody sort of we could call it adopt a distro, where you know whatever you love following, bring the news in each week. I think I like that idea. So maybe we should flesh that out a little bit more.
Cool.
But thank you once again. Thanks for everyone who has been in Jitsi and the chat room. I could really see, just following the chat tonight, I could see how excited everyone was to see Biddle back. So yeah, it's been great.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Robin, I don't want to script your last name again, so I'm not going to say it.
Just, not just D.
Justice. I always thought it was justice.
Justice. Yeah, you've got the justice bit. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's been so great too.
You've always been kind of like a superhero to me, so there we go.
Oh, thank you. Well, Backcastle. There you go. Love it, Thomas. Yeah, it's been great to see you all guys back again. It's been fantastic. I've missed you so much. I just obviously haven't got any connections with you guys to DM you and catch up and see how you're all doing. But it's so great to be able to see you guys popping up in streams and here again in one cluster. So thanks, guys. We'll try and see if we get Barb on next time, shall we? We'll see if we can get hold of Barb somehow. But yeah, no, it's fantastic. It was great. I've spotted some comments. Be nice to see the Europe edition coming back at some point. So Nate, if I've just added you on Telegram, if you want to DM me after or some point tomorrow, then I'm sure we can.
Just hit me up anytime.
Up.
I'll answer it whenever I see it. Hit me up anytime.
Lovely, sweet, and yeah, lovely seeing you all. And this week, as I say, we've got the Ubuntu's, we've got Fedoras, and yeah, so I've got latest Endeavour up and running on the laptop on a clean install, and I'm pleased straight away to see that sitting idle with nothing running, it's running at just shy of 500 megs sitting idle. So that's on an XFCE, which is fantastic.
Nice.
And it's super cold here still in the UK, so I'm still waiting for spring. So can you send some warmth my way, please?
It's stalled out here too. I don't know what's going on, so whatever.
I don't know what's going on, but yeah, great seeing you guys, and I'll catch you again next week.
Thank you very much. Eris, last word, bud.
I want to thank Vash, even though he's not here, and Nate for doing low rent biddle, and of course thank Rocco for letting Nate reboot it, and thank you, Nate, for bringing us back. We both missed it. It's been a long time. Nice to see everybody here.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Glad to have you here. You always have wonderful little quips to throw in at the right times, and I appreciate that. It makes me laugh. So
thanks,
Eric. Thank you very much for being here and for helping me out early on and to get things going.
I haven't stopped smiling since I chatted with you earlier and figured out this was happening. So yeah, this is great. I'm so happy to see everybody's face and just get back to to some normal life things, and really looking forward to picking it back up and just doing this more often. So
excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Big Pod, you still there? Did you fall asleep
Yeah,
yet?
I'm still here.
Okay,
No,
good.
I haven't.
I'd have been asleep a long time ago if I were you.
Maybe not. Well, I won't wax poetics. Not in state of mind for that.
If you could sing to him, your
No,
poetics. That'd be...
I also can't do that, but for other reasons. I it's a good thing this came back. At least I'll have something to do. Been looking for a job for a while, not getting anything. But good news is that at least I've taken to streaming. Well, so that now I do streams as well, and many members of Ubuntu Mate team stream now. So maybe if you see us, come hang out in our streams.
Excellent. Well, make sure when you do stream, share it in the Biddle Telegram or put on the Biddle Discourse that you're streaming or whatever. So this way, got to share it for people to, hop on. So.
Big Pod, those are just on your YouTube channel?
Those are my YouTube channel. My streams are on my YouTube channel, but other members, some stream, some stream on Twitch, some stream on YouTube. Actually, Eric, you came hang out on one of those streams today. Yannick, the French guy from Switzerland, recently joined the team, and today had his first stream about of the project he is actually working on.
Oh, cool.
In the team.
Yeah, some Python goodness. That's right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Next time I might even remember to do proper time math and be here on time.
It's all right. I was late too. Steve.
Nate.
Good to see your face.
Problems in the morning, or when you start. Whoever has problems when they start their stream.
Never.
But speaking of stream, segue, I'll be on in about 10 hours, 11 hours from now.
Yep.
I'll be sure to Linux Coffee Potch.
I'll be sure to troll you in the morning. Don't worry.
Sounds cool. I know Vince is already going to be there. So.
That's my job.
Well,
don't make
some of the
Vince
wealth.
cry, please. That's really bad when that happens. But thanks for having me, Nate. It's great always talking with you guys. And Eric, it's so good to see you, man.
Absolutely, Steve. If I actually wake up on time one of these days, I'll be on your stream.
No problem.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. Appreciate you being here. Joe. That's right. Your name's Joe, the original Joe.
Original Joe, yeah.
The OG. The OJ.
Old guy Joe.
Original Joe.
Yeah.
OJ.
No, I am so happy to have caught you guys. The funny thing is I kind of knew you guys were coming back on, and I wanted to jump back in right away because, like I said, coming here from the beginning and then kind of fading away. But then I was flipping on my TV, on my smart TV. I put on YouTube, and I saw you guys were live. I go, oh, so I had to jump on. I have to tell you, when I look back at this show and what it did just for us as we called it, this family, I was starting to really have some concern that everybody was okay, whatever, especially with everything that's happened in the last year and a half, whatever, with the pandemic and all that stuff. And I was worried about a lot of guys' well-being because we hadn't seen each other. And it seems like a lot of us were drifting apart. This show really has been kind of a bit of glue to pull us all together. And it's so wonderful. And I hope everybody starts making their way back. And, we realize real life kind of, as we put it, gets in the way. My grandkids are usually here on a Saturday night. They were here last week, but I was so happy to see it coming back again and being able to see so many familiar faces. And there's nothing like having these, even though we're through a camera screen, these face-to-face conversations. And I just hope everybody and your families have been well. And this show is just, again, the cherry on the top to be able to see all of you. So thanks for having me back on again. And I am looking forward to the future with this and just having a lot of fun, just hanging out.
Well, I really appreciate you hopping in. Thank you very much.
So Joe, earlier in the chat, I said Biddle's only marginally about Linux, and Rocco said Linux is an edge topic. So,
Well, I'm actually playing the part of Rocco in there, Big Daddy Linux. So
oh, that's you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So sorry for the confusion on
Gotcha.
that, but maybe it'll be better organized. Maybe at some point in time, but
you didn't have to divulge that. You could have just said you were Rocco.
Oh, oops. Yeah, it was Rocco.
He's Rocco forked.
Yeah, forked. That's right. That's like Steve said. So I can't remember your name. PCTLC.
Colin.
So I blame you being hit in the head too many times. Yeah, I don't have a very good memory.
Look, names are just names. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
It's an alias.
Thanks, Nate, mate.
Hey.
Good on you, mate, for doing this. I didn't even know you guys were actually on today because I haven't been in Biddle Telegram much lately. So, I just, same as Joe, just seen that you guys are up and I thought I might just jump on chat and then I thought I'll just jump in.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know what are we on? Jitsi or something, is it? Is it
It's
called
Jitsi.
Jitsi?
Yep. This is actually provided by the openSUSE project. So we're using their Jitsi service. So
I have to say it's actually worked pretty well.
Yeah,
I think.
there's some issues. I think it looks like it's dropping out some of the pictures. If someone goes basically quiet, it drops them out. It's kind of annoying, but maybe I'll dig into it. Maybe I can figure it out at some point in time. Who knows? I'll have a chat with somebody.
There's probably some kind of like bandwidth control.
Yeah.
There is, if you notice in the corners, it'll show the different, the signals of everybody, so it does that.
Yeah.
Well, but Joe, if you're looking at the meeting, we all see the pictures. But if you look on YouTube, only the two people speaking are pictured. They're
right.
pictured.
I see everyone picture of that. That
Yeah.
might be
So
something on your
I will
But
dig
if you take your cursor and put it over the corner of a window, your window or somebody else's, you'll see like a little signal strength meter, and sometimes it'll go red if it's weaker. So it does. The one thing I know about Jitsi, which I didn't recognize at first when I got back in tonight, it does kind of automatically adjust its bandwidth a little bit around if it starts having a little bit of issue. So you'll notice that.
Yeah, I've noticed that. But anyway,
So since we've spoken last, I've got a new boom mic here, so I can
look
keep
at
the mic out of the way. It's very nice.
Facing
I've got
the
a
right
new
way, of
web.
course.
I've got a new webcam. Oh, geez, hang on.
Hey, Colin.
And no mattress sound pads.
Colin,
No.
It's
you're gonna
upside
have
down.
to check and see if your audio is coming through the boom mic, because it sounds like it might be coming out of some other mic.
No, it's definitely no. I checked. It's not the webcam because I was checking that. Look, I'm not sure. I'll check it again next time.
Gonna give him a complex.
No, it just sounds like it's much more open than a boom.
Probably because I moved it away a bit. Is that better? Or
Yeah.
testing 1, 2, 3.
Still sounds
Put it
like
right up by your mouth.
What about a radio voice?
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay. Yeah, it's because I'm a bit further away. But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, I despised key passes, and I'm now using a password manager. How's that? So I said I would never use one, but I'm using one. So I'd like to discuss that next time we're on.
Okay.
All right. So I think
Excellent.
Smart and secure.
yeah, and on Android as well. So there you go. So anyway, it's good to talk to you guys again, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Thanks,
Excellent.
Nate, and whoever else organised this.
All Nate.
It's
All Nate. Okay.
Well, I have to give Vash a lot of the credit because he's actually really the one
Okay.
that he actually lit a fire underneath my rear, and so, yep, whatever word you want to use, that's family friendly, and
Hot to trot, we'll call it.
Right. So I started out with doing a couple of what I call like low rent biddles because, first I asked permission if I could do that because I don't want to take anything away from Rocco. And Rocco gave me his blessing, and so I went forward to some low rent, and he says, "Hey, do you want to actually stream it from the Big Daddy Linux channel?" And so we are doing that, and anyway, and so that's here we are now. But yeah,
Thank you, Vash.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
So,
Thank you guys for stepping up and doing that. I think a lot of people probably wanted to see it come back, but knowing, it's a lot of work, So
yep.
anyway,
Especially when you have computer issues, and it was a hardware issue, not a software. Just to be clear.
well, and you're making changes 10 minutes before you go live. Yeah, that always helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to rebuild some scenes like right
Who
as we were
does
going
that?
live.
But we could really call you the forked Rocco when you're starting to load the distro right before the show goes on, because that's what he used to do.
I wasn't going that far, but pretty close. Right?
You will. You'll get there.
That's the ultimate test, right?
It is. And one I probably won't pass.
Can you be a Rocco?
Stop asking Steve for lessons. You might get somewhere.
Okay.
So JJ, last word.
Yeah.
Or phrase.
Thanks
Or
for
sentence.
having this, Nate, and thank you guys for allowing us to getting, and Vash for getting the idea started for this, and also to Rocco for providing the streaming channel to bring more awareness to this as well. So giving Nate access to the channel. You can find me on Telegram, also on Elements/Matrix. I highly recommend if anybody wants to experiment in decentralized messaging to check out Matrix at some point. And you can find me there as well, JJ4884. Just want to put that out there.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you joining, JJ. It's good to have you back. And nice to know you're on openSUSE, because I remember I was acting surprised. And just give me a chance to say it again. So thank you very much. So I want to thank everyone for joining. Oh, also more on me, in case you want to look anything up, cubiclenate.com. That's where I do most of my blatherings. So incoherent ramblings or writings and so forth. Then I have a podcast there. Also Destination Linux, part of Destination Linux Network. DL and Extend is a podcast I'm on there as well. So if you want to hear more of my whatever. So, and then I want to, I have a Noodlings podcast as well. But just in case you want to know more about me, I'm there. So, but I want to thank you all for joining both this Jitsi meeting and on the YouTube stream. I want to thank Rocco especially for starting the Biddle community, making this all really possible. Really, without Rocco, I wouldn't have met all of you wonderful people. And actually, he reached out to me one time saying, "Hey, why don't you join the stream?" And ever since then, I've been kind of hooked. So I want to thank him especially for also allowing me to use the Big Daddy Linux channel, so we could pull more people back in. And I want to thank the openSUSE project for use of their Jitsi server and everyone involved in making Linux and open source tools possible. It allows us to have this conversation and to have fun and to make new friends because of this technology. So Linux truly puts personal back in a personal computer. So until next time, see yas.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See ya.
Everybody. Just in time to
Bye.
say bye.